to our Tribal ISP Workshop series. I'm Carl Patterson, Director of Marketing and Sales with Native Network, and I'm thrilled to have Valerie Fast Horse here with us today. Valerie is the IT Director at the Coeur Tribe in Plummer, Idaho, and she has been a key leader in the development and the operations of their tribal internet service provider, Red Spectrum Communications. Valerie, thank you so much for joining us today.
You're welcome. Glad to be here.
Yes, start with an introduction. Could you tell us a bit about yourself, your role in the Coeur d'Alene Tribe's ISP? We'd love to hear about the community that you serve, the services that you are offering, and the vision for the future.
Okay, great. Thank you. Hello, everyone. As Carl stated, my name is Valerie Fast Horse. I'm the IT Director for the Coeur d'Alene Tribe. I've held this position since 1999. As I was telling Carl earlier, that was Prince's favorite year. Such a long time ago. Yeah, so in the beginning, there was dial-up. And that was, the reservation was confined to dial-up. The local exchange carrier, the telephone company, GTE at that time, had promised to upgrade their network and bring ISDN to the reservation, and they didn't deliver. They couldn't do that. I remember going to the store and buying a 56K modem, installing it in my computer, thinking I was going to be like the cool kid on the block. And I couldn't even get 56K. The infrastructure was so bad. I don't think they've upgraded it since they installed it over 50 years ago. So the opportunity presented itself, really. We didn't set out to be an ISP. We became one by necessity. They say necessity is the mother of invention.
Yes.
And that is very true. So the USDA RUS program had a Community Connect grant opportunity in the early 2000s. I want to say it was 2002 is when they did the notice of funding opportunity. And I've never written a grant before, but I applied for the grant and had assistance with the network engineer to design a network, and we designed a wireless network, put that in the grant, put everything in the grant that we thought we would do and that was necessary to run an ISP. The Network Operations Center, the Community Technology Center, the wireless towers, the servers, DHCP, every kind of server under the sun that you would need, DNS, anything you need to run an ISP. So we wrapped that all up, put a bow on it, sent it to DC, crossed our fingers, and we got the grant.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And what community that you serve, is it on reservation to tribal members? Are you off reservation at all? Elaborate more on that.
So we serve the entire Coeur d'Alene reservation. Anyone, tribal member or not, anyone who's here needs broadband. The reservation's about 345,000 acres, but as you know, the wireless doesn't stick within boundaries, and so the spectrum spills up at the reservation borders. So we serve off-reservation people too. We serve people in Washington State, towns that border the reservation, all the towns and communities on the reservation. We have 3 main towns and scattered bay communities, and then people who live back in the woods and in the mountains. We have people all over the place. There's over 3,000 homes, maybe 4,000 homes on the reservation. The reservation provides service to a lot of them through either fiber or wireless. We started off as a wireless ISP. A decade later, wireless wasn't cutting it anymore for that many customers, and so we had to add fiber to the mix. And so now we have a wireless fiber hybrid network.
Wonderful. So you mentioned one of the probably the big key factor in the motivation was the incumbents over-promising and under-delivering. Was there any other challenges or needs that made the decision to start an ISP?
Just the challenges of, again, the local exchange carrier not doing it. No one else was. The reservation, our population is so sparse and scattered that I don't think it makes financial sense for anyone else to come in and do it, and that's why they haven't. We did it again just because it was necessary, and we wanted to align our own technology needs with our own priorities. And so if we want to focus in on low income or focus in on senior citizens or students or whatever. We can align our own priorities however we want, because we steer the ship. If it had been any outsiders, we would be under whatever their priorities are.
Yeah. So forming an ISP requires lots of careful planning and resources. You mentioned that you went off some grant money for funding. What other resource planning or vendor partnerships or things like that did you use during the formation process?
There's actually a lot of partnerships with interior departments of the Coeur d'Alene tribe. I didn't do this by myself. I had some help, a lot of help. And again, I had a network engineer that had not worked for the tribe yet, but he built the very first ISP in Idaho. And so I was lucky to get him on board to help me with planning and designing the system design. And then we built a new facility. So I had the tribe's facilities department. They donated their time to build my building, and I paid for the materials, basically is how that worked. And then there was just a bunch of other different partnerships. The grant writing department didn't know anything about technology, so he didn't know how to write this kind of grant, but he helped guide me on what to put in a grant. The finance department helping me put together budgeting and forecasting and determining, is this something that we can or should do, and making the financial decision first and foremost.
Yes. Yeah, and I know that prior background that we like to talk to tribes, nation of Pueblos. We walk them through a SWOT analysis, discovering what their strengths are and their weaknesses and opportunities and threats. And I know just hearing your story that some of the strengths internally with the tribe is that there was already a billing system set up, and you use that resource with the tribes, and so talk a little bit about internal departments and leveraging that to make this successful.
Right. So in the beginning, so I'm the IT director for the Coeur d'Alene tribe, and so when I wrote this grant, I created a program underneath the tribal IT department called broadband, and it didn't have a name, Red Spectrum, yet. It was just called the broadband program. But initially we made the decision to build this program to provide services to both tribal government and also to residents at large. I mean, that was a decision up front, and we made a decision to start charging people from the get-go as customers, because if you don't charge them in the beginning, you try to charge them later, they're going to get mad. They're not going to pay. So you need to have that pricing structure. And the pricing structure we came up with was just basically looking across the fence and seeing what the neighbors were doing. What's Verizon doing? What's the other providers doing? And we built our pricing model based on what is around us. And so
yeah, excellent. Yeah, that leads into the next question is sustainability. It's super important for long-term success. So how do you balance offering affordable services to your community and tribal members while maintaining the financial health of an ISP?
I'm always watching what the average revenue per user is and the number of users and our take rate and who do we have as our customer base. I'm really lucky partnerships. I'm really lucky to also have in my department a GIS program. And so in our GIS program, we know all the locations of where everyone lives on the reservation, and I can overlay our customer base and see who we have and who we don't have and know how to target those areas. And I also need to know the number of people that I need, the number of customers I need to have in order to sustain my network. And if I start dipping below, I either need to figure out a way to grow more revenue or I need to cut costs.
Excellent. Many other tribal communities are considering forming their own ISPs. What are some key lessons or best practices that you would share from your experience? And are there things that you wish you would have known before you started?
Key practices. I want to say hidden gotchas.
Yeah,
it's a fun industry to be in, but if you melt in the rain and you can't climb towers, or you don't like being in heights, if you're building a wireless ISP, for instance, or if you don't like digging ditches, there are certain things that this industry is not for everyone. So you have your outside plant people who are digging the ditches and hanging the aerial cable and splicing, and then you have I do my wireless and fiber installers. They just go out and do nothing but install all day. Then I have a locator who goes out there and locates all the fiber when people are doing construction call before you dig. He's going, we have, say about 130 miles of fiber. So he's going along the lines locating so people don't dig up our fiber. Then we have our network operations center, which I have a broadband operations manager and a network administrator. And then I have my customer service. Then I have my person who's helping with ACP and Lifeline and low income. Then I have my billing manager. Who I don't have is an accountant, and that's a weakness right there. I don't have an accountant that I can walk down the hall and say, hey, help me with this or whatever. So I've had to outsource that. So here in the Inland Northwest, there's several tribes that we all get together, and that's the Inland Northwest Tribal Broadband Coalition, the Coeur d'Alene Tribe, the Kbps, the Spokanes, the Showbands, the Nez Perce, the Kalispels. So what we all do is we all get together and we discuss ways that we could, share resources maybe, or, share strengths and weaknesses where maybe they're missing something and I know it, or I'm missing something and they know it. So we've discussed the idea of possibly sharing an accountant amongst us, because I don't think we all need a full-time accountant, but, those are just things to think about.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's awesome. I didn't even know that was going on, but definitely collaboration with other tribes. And that's part of our philosophy as well, is working with your partnerships and other tribal members or tribal entities that are doing it to learn and listen to their challenges and how they overcame those. And that's amazing. That's awesome to hear that. Well, Valerie, thank you for your time and to share your insights and experiences. Thank you for your work in what Coeur d'Alene Tribe is doing. It's truly inspiring and provides an excellent model for other tribal communities. We really appreciate your time and expertise.
Thank you.
Yeah, and thank you to everyone watching this session. Stay tuned for more conversations and workshops as we continue to support tribal communities in building and sustaining their own ISPs.